Hey, what is up, team? Yo, so excited to be back with y'all this week. It's going to be a little bit different this week. As you know, it's going to be Color Wars, Water Wars edition. Listen, obviously leaders don't have to play the games, but just a little heads up. You wear something you can get wet in because these students are going to be excited and they're going to try to get you wet. It's coming. Just be prepared for it. I'm not saying you will get wet, but you probably gonna get wet. But listen, I just want to take a couple of minutes really quickly to just give you guys a couple of tips about leading small groups. I'm working on developing some material for us to go through as a team. But in the meantime, I want to just give y'all points and keep these points in front of you at all times as we're all developing to become better small group leaders, okay? So this is no dog on anybody. This is for us all to get better, okay? So the first one would be when we're in small group, the main rule we're trying to learn and remember is we speak 10%, they speak 90%. I do know sometimes there's those times when the kids won't talk at all. I get it. Sometimes you have to fill those gaps to probe them to talk. I've been there. Sometimes that's necessary. But that leads me to my second thing that we want to be very, very intentional about. Are you ready? Again, this is not a diss on anybody, but we have to remember this is not our small group. It's important for all of you leaders, me and myself included, to be involved in another small group where we are part of the small group. In this scenario on Wednesday nights, we are leading the small group, which means our students should never feel like we're dumping on them, right? It's okay to say things sometimes that can help them know that you relate to them by some stories from your life, but they need to be very short. And you need to make sure that it's not open-ended to the point where a student may feel like you're looking for them to give you answers. Does that make sense? So we're talking 10%, pushing them to talk 90, and then we're making sure we're only giving things that are relative as far as our stories go to push them into maybe trusting you or showing them that, hey, I've been there. But also, we want to make sure it's not open-ended to where we're leaving them feeling like they need to help us, okay? If you tell a story, it needs to be relevant to what you're talking about, and it needs to have a point. It does not need to be open-ended, okay? The other thing, you guys are killing it. I appreciate you so much. Another thing, though, is the questions that I give. I'm going to start being more intentional to make the questions different. But the questions are just a baseline because I'm making questions for 6th graders all the way to 12th graders, right? Last week, whenever we did small group, I sat in there with Ramsey. We did not use the questions that were on there at all because it didn't fit in the moment. You're still having questions that are on topic with what we talked about. But the question I closed my message with about what's a temptation you're going through now and how do you think God can get you out of it or help you get out of it? We literally never made it past that question because we opened up, right? We opened up a space for them to be able to become real with us, okay? But also, we're not scared in that small group we were in. We're not scared of silence, okay? Yes, I know it's awkward if there's like 15 seconds of nobody talking, but sometimes that's necessary as those students get the courage to go, you know what? I am going to say this, right? And so I just want to encourage you, read the questions before you get into small group. I give them to you before 6 o'clock, okay? So I want you to start reading those. Make sure you read those before you get in there because you don't need to be... It's bad if the students can tell that you're reading something off of a script that you just got, okay? If you need me to get the questions to you earlier, I can, but they need to still match the message. You're not teaching a whole nother message, right? You're just expounding on what we've already talked about through the questions, but it doesn't have to be like on a scale of 1 to 10, how tempted do you get on a day-to-day basis? If that's what the question says, expound on that question, right? You don't have to read it verbatim. Does that make sense? Like, make it sound like you and but just make it back up with what we were actually talking about on Wednesday. Does that make sense? Again, guys, y'all are killing it. You're awesome. I know we're not doing small groups this week, but this is kind of stuff I'm going to be telling y'all all the time because it's really important that we get small groups right. Right? That's the only reason we do them. If not, I would just preach longer because I like to talk. So I could just talk longer. Right? But small groups are so important because we're making a place for them to feel like we're there for them. Okay? And that has to show that we've put some effort into it and that we care about their lives more than us just telling them stories about our lives, but actually opening up space for them to be able to share their stories, right? I hope that makes sense. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out anytime. I'm always here, and I cannot wait to see y'all tomorrow night. Be prepared to get wet. Again, students, I know you don't have to play the game leaders, but students are going to want to get you wet. That's just how it's going to go. It's fun to mess with your leaders. So, good luck. I will see y'all tomorrow. Love you, fam. Peace.